Welcome, I'm Brian Ross, Chief Investigative Correspondent for ABC News. Today, an in-depth look at a very big story, Iran and the CIA. Current and former intelligence officials tell ABC News that the CIA has received secret presidential approval to mount what is known as a black or covert operation to destabilize the Iranian regime, and that it is now underway. The officials say President Bush gave his approval with the formal signing of a presidential finding, a secret document that authorized the CIA to act against Iran.
Any action, lethal or non-lethal, that is U.S. government sponsored, but the U.S. government is hiding its sponsorship, requires an intelligence finding.
Intelligence officials described the CIA's Iranian plan as non-lethal, involving a coordinated campaign of propaganda broadcasts, placement of negative newspaper articles, and the manipulation of Iran's currency and international banking transactions, all playing to perceived vulnerabilities in Iran, according to former Assistant Secretary of Defense Peter Rudman.
I think it's economically vulnerable. I think there's ferment in the country. I suspect there are a lot of people among intellectuals, among students, even in political life, who really don't like this clerical regime.
Officials say the CIA plan takes the place of proposed U.S. military action against Iran, reportedly advocated by Vice President Cheney.
I think that they've come to the conclusion a military strike has more downsides than upsides.
Until 6 months ago, Bruce Riedel was a senior CIA official dealing with Iran and the region. He would not confirm the CIA covert plan, but says it fits in with overall U.S. policy.
I can't confirm or deny whether such a program exists or whether the president has signed it, but it would be consistent with an overall American approach of trying to find ways of putting pressure on the regime. And this regime is extremely paranoid.
Officials in Iran have already accused the CIA of running a secret operation to bring down the regime. As ABC News reported last month, the U.S. has been secretly encouraging a Pakistan-based militant group which has carried out a series of attacks on Iranian military units.
I think everybody in the region knows that there is a proxy war already afoot, and this covert action is now being escalated by the new U.S. directive, and that can very quickly lead to Iranian retaliation, and a cycle of escalation can follow.
Officials at both the White House and the CIA declined to comment, saying that as a matter of course, they do not comment on allegations of covert action. Joining me now is the principal reporter on the story, Rich Esposito of ABC News. Rich, good to have you here. Help our viewers understand how big a story this is and why we decided to break it.
We decided to break it because we felt it was a very important part of the debate. Propaganda is, most people don't realize, one of the most important parts of the CIA's job. But we were certain there were no lives at risk before we did this story.
Now, they call it a non-lethal finding. That means they don't have the ability to go out and kill or have approval to kill. Does that mean this is a not-for-real plan, or is it a serious?
Oh, no, this is a serious plan, but it's a plan to destabilize. It's a plan that uses information, television, broadcasts, newspaper articles, to pressure the regime.
We also talked about pressure on Iranian banking transactions. How important is that?
That's key. In the past, in Iraq, they tried to flood them with phony currency. Iran's a lot more sophisticated, so we'll look to influence their banking system.
Now, let me ask you a question you can't really answer, but I'm going to ask it. How do you go about getting a story like this?
Well, you know, Brian, you just work.
You just work at it. Now, there's been a lot of criticism of our story. Two GOP presidential candidates say we were wrong to reveal a CIA covert plan, that we might put national security at risk. As you know, we gave the CIA and the White House 6 days' notice and offered to hear any objection they had, and they chose not to make any. But what do you say to those charges?
We take national security very seriously, as you know, and if there were an objection like that, we would look at it very carefully. We've done that in the past. There were no objections, and we were confident that there was no violation.
Do you think this stops the plan now that it's been made public?
No, I don't think it stops the plan at all.
Is it possible this was, in fact, a good thing from the point of view of the CIA? They like to rattle the cages of the Iranians.
Opportunistically, it's very well could be a good thing for them.
Well, Rich, I know there's much more to come. Continuing coverage and updates can be found on our website called The Blotter, located at abcnews.com. I want to hear what you have to say about our reports, good or bad. Send us your video comments or questions. Just go to the Brian Ross and the investigative team website at abcnews.com and click on Anonymous. For all of us at the ABC News investigative team, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon on the web.
Go to abcnews.com anytime for Brian Ross and the investigative team. The reporting never stops at abcnews.com.